Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. Well, the local cricket, lots of it around, and the first part of maybe a season that's you could almost say divided into three. And part one pretty much reaching a climax with the finals of the T20s. We already had the final of the Shield, and you'll be hearing more about that in a while. But coming up this coming weekend, we've got the final of the plate and the T20 Cup. I think I have outlined that correctly because I've got a man who would be glad to correct me if I'm wrong. He's called Stephen Leslie, and he is pretty much Mr. Everything when it comes to making sure that certain aspects of the show can go ahead without a hitch. So welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk, Stephen. All set for the coming weekend?
Yeah, thanks, Philip, for having me. The preparations are going quite well for the second and third of the T20 Cup finals. You are correct by identifying the T20 plate, which is going to be held on Saturday, June 10th. That will see the Lords team coming up against Windward, and that is going to be played at the Desmond Hayes Oval, Charlton Club in Blackrock, St. Michael. And then on Sunday, Philip, the T20 Cup final between the BWU Gladiola and Bayview Hospital YMPC. That game is scheduled for the Police Sports Club at Weymouth, and that game is on Sunday, June 11th. Both finals are scheduled to begin at 2 p.m. and coming on the heels of a very exciting last ball finish in the T20 Shield last Saturday. That game held at the Breton Club, and you had JSTB basketball up against Barbados Defence Force. We expect a very exciting climax to the T20 segment of the season. Our competitions began on April 15th, and there are a lot of very exciting initiatives that we are looking to put together as we go into those second and third finals over the weekend.
Before we get into the details of those, though, any lessons to be learned from the Shield action that we had last weekend?
Yes, the Shield battle, as you would appreciate, a northern team up against a team that really is the military base. So you had a situation from a logistic and a marketing perspective that we attempted, as you will recall, a live stream of the actual final for the T20 Shield. Again, that was groundbreaking. The opportunity to showcase all of those talented cricketers who would have earned their way into the final. And what was interesting is that we, along with the live stream, also had a live radio broadcast. So the infrastructure that we had at the facility at Breton, we were very well accommodated. But you found that what happened in the actual physical pavilion, that because of that additional infrastructure, additional personnel, that it was very crowded. And I use crowded in very common where ideally you would want a facility that allows those individuals from a streaming perspective and from a radio broadcast perspective to be in their own space, so to speak. But ultimately around the venue, it was a very wonderful atmosphere. We had the opportunity to see children and women coming out to cricket, which is very critical when you're trying to measure the response from support. And then you also had some of the stalwarts, many former Barbados cricketers, many players who would have played at top flight level in Barbados, ensuring that they were at the ground. So we did have an opportunity to be able to see plenty of people. There was one element that was identified to us that we will attempt to rectify over the weekend, where the PA system, for example, that would keep spectators abreast of, let's say, over number one, that the score may be 5 for 1, over number 20, maybe 150 for 5. There were quite a few persons who were around the ground that despite having the stream, despite having the radio coverage, they would prefer having an announcement of how the game is progressing. So that's something that we did, but ultimately we had a fantastic day. The weather was good. The cricket on the field was very competitive, and we do look forward to those two other finals that are coming up on the weekend.
Okay. So you were about to share some details of what you've got in store for us this weekend.
Yes, so this gives me great excitement to announce the fact that we are going to create history by on Sunday having a partnership and going live with Flow Sports TV, live ball by ball coverage of a local cricket game in Barbados. From the records, this would be the first time that it would be executed, and Flow Sports is generously consented, worked through a lot of details in order for us to have that broadcast on Sunday. It will see the Bayview Hospital YMPC, where one of the most notable players will be former West Indies cricketer Dwayne Smith up against the BW Gladiola, who have Ashley Nurse, Miguel Cummins, and a host of other talented cricketers. So that live broadcast on Flow Sports will go from 2 p.m. on Sunday, June 11th. You know that Flow Sports has viewership on average of 240,000. That's almost 250,000 persons who follow Flow Sports based on the metrics. So the opportunity to allow those two teams for the first time to be able to be this, actually be shown to a very wide audience. I think that that's a first for the BCA, and it's a really unique opportunity to really give everyone the ideal opportunity to show what Barbados cricket is all about. So we're very excited about that. In addition to that, Flow Sports, live ball by ball, we will be having a stream on the Barbados Cricket website, which is www.barbadoscricket.org. And we also be having radio broadcasts, live ball by ball on Starcom Network here in Barbados.
Okay, well, you partially answered a question I was about to ask, or you may even have confused me a bit more to the point, because I was going to ask you, where is the flow commentary originated? In other words, is it the same streamers, if you will, streaming operation that you had for the last series, but flow will be, let's say, taking a feed from that, for example, or is it that flow will be mounting their own broadcast?
Yeah, it will be the first where we are using our very high quality live stream that we provided for the first T20 Shield. So that stream will be provided to Flow, and then that broadcast will be carried live on Flow Sports TV.
Okay, so the stream that is going to the BCS site that you talked about is identical to what is going to Flow. So it's just a matter then of convenience. A person who's on the move will be able to follow the stream. A person who may be in their living room may want to follow it on Flow. And better yet, some people may want to have a T20 finals party, and some guys get together. Well, I say guys, fans get together and watch it, in the living rooms or elsewhere. Lots of possibilities.
Yes, that's correct. And what is important about the fact that you've got this feed is that, we've partnered with Flow since the April 15th, where on a weekly basis, there's a show that BCS Cricket has been actually highlighted. That host is Barry Wilkinson. So this is basically a continuation of the partnership that had began back on April 15th. And this extension really, I believe, is a unique opportunity for everyone to see what is happening in Barbados cricket. The pros are coming back. There's a renewed energy. There's a renewed interest. And we just hope that this weekend will be a success as the T20 tournaments have been thus far.
One of the things that was talked about at the final last weekend was the fact that the cricket has been brought into the communities. That seemed to have been over last couple of seasons, maybe a stop and go type of thing, where there's a school of thought your finals should be at a location like Kensington that is built for that type of situation. There's another school of thought that you want to go into the communities. Has the BCA worked out yet what is, the direction that you really want to go in?
I'll tell you this, Philip, as you introduced me and suggested that I'm a person who wears a lot of hats. My current role is that of the manager marketing and communications, but previously I had the opportunity to serve as director of cricket. And the direction that is being communicated strongly is, yes, there is that deliberate attempt to ensure that cricket goes out into the communities. And you would appreciate that really whether there is cricket going into the communities or if it's held at the stadium, which is Kensington Oval, the critical thing from a marketing perspective and promotion perspective is to have cricket in the ears and on the eyes of individuals on a consistent basis. Once Barbadians know that there's cricket, once Barbadians know that there's excitement at the games, I am of a firm belief that they will turn up to the venues. Now, Kensington Oval preparing for an international series, India versus West Indies in the month of July. There was a considerable amount of remedial work that had to be done at the venue. So that continues. And you would appreciate that once that international series come, there are other assignments that will be held at Kensington. I believe they're coming into Barbados as well, as announced recently. So one of the critical things is that we want to have the Kensington Oval venue in the best possible condition. But as it relates to local cricket, I believe that individuals will go to venue once they're seeing their young, talented and upcoming stars. Also see some persons who would have been involved heavily in actually being part of success in previous years. So when someone, for example, attempts to see the T20 Cup final, which is coming this weekend, persons want to see how Ashley Nurse, how Miguel Cummins, how Dwayne Smith, and not just those three, but how a lot of the other young upcoming stars are going to perform. So I believe it's going to be a very strong weekend. We had, I believe, from our on scientific in excess of 500 persons at Brighton last weekend for JCB Basketball and the BDF, and we hope to build on those numbers as we for the last two finals this weekend.
Stephen, I know you like to stay in your lane, so if at any point you're being steered in a direction that is causing discomfort, feel free to indicate. But I know that there's been some concern among fans and even players regarding T20 cricket. Not the standard or anything of that nature, but given that that Cricket West Indies no longer controls regional T20, there's been that concern over the years. Players can perform in this competition, and then what next? And there's not clear pathway, so to speak. And I always use, although I probably have to look for a more recent example now, but over the years I've used the example of David Carter, Jonathan's brother, who you remember some seasons ago he scored, I think it was like 2 or 3 centuries in the T20 competition, and that was that. There was no going to trials for the Barbados team or anything like that. Since there's nothing, as I understand it, that can be done to change that, has the BCA, to the best of your knowledge, or any regional entity, sought to find a pathway that would sort of give players who do well at this level some opportunity to showcase their skills a bit further?
Well, I can speak to what the marketing unit has attempted at the BCA. I deliberately, with all the background that you just identified, which is totally true, always felt that once the years of the Caribbean T20, if you recall, that would have given a large group of Caribbean islands an opportunity to play. We went to the CPL, and the model that the CPL employs, I don't think that there are a lot of people who would say that the most talented Caribbean cricketers are given opportunities to play in that league. There are some that are on showcase, but there's so many others in Barbados and across the Caribbean who are not actually selected into the CPL teams. Be that as it may, from a marketing and communication perspective, I took a proposal to our board just before the beginning of the season with a deliberate investment to be made, ensuring that we have the streaming of this cricket, the ability for persons to see talented cricketers, not just at the final stage, but if you listen to a lot of the commentary that you and others were part of, a lot of those clips are actually shared on social media. A lot of those clips are actually shown in different spheres on social media platforms. So, for example, if an individual scores a half century, his team might not have made the final, but you have that being shown in different social media spaces that allow persons to be able to see the talented all-rounders and batters that we've got in Barbados. So to basically give you a clear perspective, once you show your abilities and wants to allow persons to be aware of the other talent that we have in Barbados. The sky's the limit. There's a T20 franchise popping up almost everywhere across the globe now. There's a huge USA League, for example, which I believe is going to be luring a lot of cricketers, not just the young upcoming ones, but some of those who are on the other end of their careers. I understand there was one English cricketer quite recently who was offered a very lucrative contract, and he, I believe, took the offer to play in that USA League, and he was on retainer for the ECB. So there are lots of opportunities and doors are opening, and I think that what ECA needs to do, and that's what I've been very clear in my mind as part of a path going forward, to show the talent that we have, the additional talent, and that is critical so that people can be able to, earn a living from playing these T20 franchises. Everybody's not going to play international cricket, and it's important that we do that for our young, talented male and female cricketers on this island.
And before you go, I did indicate that the T20 finale, if you will, is part 1 of 3. Could you quickly give us some idea what's in store for the rest of the cricket season?
Yeah, the information has reached me so far is that there is the start of the Super 50 Cup on the 24th of June. And on that same weekend, there will be the Shoe 40 over, which this year there's a combination of both the intermediate and second division teams playing in that zone. So though the weekend of June 24 would allow that second form of limited overs to be played in Barbados, and the scheduled start for the traditional 3-day elite, 2-day second division, intermediate, and Division 1 is scheduled for the month of August. So the intent, once you get into the month of August, is to allow those 3-day and 2-day games to play, and that should run until 1 week or just around the December month, close to Christmas, and that is when the local domestic season in Barbados should be completed.
Stephen Leslie, you have done a fine job in painting the picture of the T20 and giving us some insight into what's to come. And I really like the whole idea of, well, you can't get the players to showcase their skills in one way, open a different pathway, and the use of technology. Always good to see when technology is used in a positive way. So well done to those who conceptualize that. And here's hoping that it really works well and that players, as you say, male and female, can benefit. Thanks a lot, Stephen.
And thank you. We'll continue your good work.
Thank you. So there you have it, Stephen Leslie, and telling us all about the upcoming matches this weekend. So, well, last weekend we had the final of the Shield with Boscobel up against BDF, and that worked out quite well for one of those teams. And of course, that was the Boscobel team, and we've got some representatives of the Boscobel side with us tonight. And I'm going to go first to the man who is very familiar to those of you who follow anything cricket. Let's talk. Of course, primarily now on YouTube. I think the Facebook fans will be very, very familiar indeed with a guy called Omar Phillips. And Omar is going to introduce his teammate. Welcome again, Omar.
Hi, Phila, and to all the viewers. Tonight we have with us the man of the match, Kieran Boyce. A very exciting young cricketer, and one of my good friends.
So welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk, Kieran. Yes, I was there. I saw it all, and it really was a sight to behold. But before we even get to Kieran, I'll get to him in a minute. But you invested a lot in this journey, I would have to say. I can't say the final because you may not have been around for the entire exercise. I know you were part of the journey even from a distance. You invested a lot in this journey, Omar. So how are you feeling now that the journey has reached this point?
Yeah, it's really good, very good to see. I, work a lot with these guys, and I think to see the outcome and where they've come as a club, especially all the hard work we did as a community, is really good to see.
Right. So you actually didn't play in the final. Why was that?
Um, Honestly, when I had a long, long deep thought about it. I came in probably on the Wednesday night. Didn't get my luggage in time. Obviously, that played a big part, flying almost 30 something hours. And I wanted the team that reached the finals to honestly have the crack at it rather than me being the one and, giving it.
Oh, I seem to have lost Omar there for a while. I'm sure you'll be
Yeah, I'm
back.
back. I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead, Omar.
so I was saying, given the opportunity, we had youngsters that who would be part of the club for the next couple of years, rather than me, who's obviously played a lot and probably over the age of 30 or 35 now. So I felt guilty, not really guilty, but I felt the need for the club to give the opportunity to the youngster. And the one that we probably were going to look to replace, he's the one that who received the man in the match, which made me even prouder of the moment, because we were honestly gonna probably replace it. It worked out in the best way possible. And I felt that after the conversation that we had, me and Kieran, about how he felt on that the night before, the Friday night, is a change. And I said to myself, like, this kid is ready. He wants to do well. And I don't want to take that opportunity from him, because I'm only here for a short time. Obviously, he's helped the team to get to this stage, and I think that he deserved the chance to prove himself and to perform at that level. I know the ability of this young man, and it was so good to watch, especially from the sidelines.
You keep saying young man. Kieran, welcome again to the show. How young are you?
I can actually 34.
34. You said 34 or 24?
34.
34. Okay. So how long have you been playing for the club?
It was actually around for a long time, but by the time I done school, I was playing for basketball.
And those guys were actually considering leaving you out?
Pardon?
And those guys were actually considering leaving you out of the final?
I don't actually think they would have let me out, to be honest.
Okay, but let's go back to the end of that game. I was actually on radio commentary while that ended, and let me tell you, I've had so many comments from people like you. Some of them followed cricket in terms of talking about how what an exciting experience it was and things of that nature. Some people were sorry that they were not there. All sorts of comments I've had. But while the commentary may have captured the moments, you were the one who you and your teammates were the ones who provided that those moments, along with of course the BDF. So take us to those final moments. We can even start with that final over. You required like 6, 7 runs off the final over. What was it again?
7 off of 6.
7 off 6.
Yeah.
Right. So talk us through that, your mindset, what you and your partner would have been saying to each other.
Well, actually, it was like, we have to get at least a boundary in this over, and after that, it's easy sailing.
Mm-hmm. And you were batting with who at that stage?
The last man, 20 hours.
And it started the over.
Yeah.
Did the wicket fall in that over?
I think the wicket fall in the second last over.
Okay. All right. So you had you're batting with the last man, and you were able to get that boundary, right?
Yeah.
But I think you should be caught at one stage during that over, a ball that dropped that you managed to, forgive me, let me rephrase, a stroke that you were able to place directly in the air between 3 fielders.
Actually, no one actually called for that ball. So I was like, run, don't watch the ball, just run.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
If it dropped, we already got me runs completed.
Right. And then the last ball, 1 run to win. What was the thought at that point?
I walked down to my other opponent. I tell him like, just get down here because I can get it there.
Oh, you told your partner that?
And don't walk out, just get here. Yeah,
Just get there.
after just let the ball boil, I can get there. So get here.
So what was it feeling like? What was it feeling like immediately after you've achieved it? You've got your run. You've won. I mean, at one point, I feared for your safety because it seemed as though the entire parish had come out and they were on top of you, and then it was relieved to see that that actually lifted you up. But it was a bit concerned when everyone came out and you were buried in there somewhere. What was the feeling like?
It was like after losing last year by 1 run, like I kind of lose again this year. So to actually win this finals again is a big achievement.
Okay. All right. So moving forward now to the 50 over competition, what are your thoughts on that?
But for me, winning the finals last year, it'd be a good feeling actually reaching the 40 over finals again.
Okay. So you're looking to do the double.
For sure.
All right. So what has it been like though since last weekend? As I told you, I've come across a lot of people who listen to the commentary and who were quite excited by by what had happened. You have been in contact with your friends and family and so on during the course of the week. What has that been like? Are you the new hero, so to speak, in St. Peter?
I was like, I in the finals. Y'all guys gotta come and watch me in this finals. I need y'all support.
Okay, so pretty much most of those who cared about the outcome were actually there.
Yeah, majority, yeah.
Right,
1 or
right,
2
right.
was missing, but majority was there.
Okay. So what has this done for your confidence though as a cricketer?
But actually, I was like, I never actually turned out in the finals and seeing all these wickets falling all around my head. Like, I got to be the man today. Like, I can't afford to lose today. After all week telling everybody come and watch me and need their support, can't afford to lose.
Uh-huh. All right. So you had that determination.
Yeah.
So tell me something though. What sort of planning, how much planning went into the whole exercise in terms of the team and even the individual preparation? What was that like?
Well, actually, how I work, like I can't afford it. I can't met all the training sessions, but I met whatever training session I could meet. I actually was there early. I mean, we work on the weaknesses.
Okay. All right. So it all paid off in the end.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, Ron, thanks very much for chatting with us. And you certainly did a lot to be proud of. You've made your club proud, you've made the parish proud, and you are part of a very exciting final, something that certainly did a lot to promote cricket in a positive, local cricket in a positive way. Sometimes people see cricket as this long, boring game. T20 has that potential to win fans over, and you did more than your fair share on Saturday. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Omar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so you've got the T20 under your belt. You will be around for a little while?
Yeah, hopefully. You never know with me. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to be in Barbados at the moment, but anyway, I played a surprise visit to the guys. They didn't even know that I was in Barbados until I rock up to training. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Talking about your surprise visit and not expecting to be here though. How are things going in Australia?
Yeah, at the moment, this season been one was a bit challenging, having lost some key players, but nevertheless, we fought well. It's a big rebuild for the club at the moment. So is now a chance for the youngsters to actually show up and have been given the opportunity to perform and be better at what they could offer. So this year was more or less surviving in a tough competition. Where we were in the toughest group at that time, which is the South in the BTC sub-district competition, which is just under the district association, which you choose your international, well, the guys that will go on to play international cricket. But I think we were in a stage where we had lack of experience, where those guys didn't get embarrassed, and that was actually a proud moment. So I think it was really good to see those guys given the opportunity for the first time and actually stepping up to the plate.
All right, so can't let you go without asking you about the West Championship final. I mean, you are physically there, based in Australia in the final against India. Of course, you know by now that their one went the way of Australia. I suppose if you have a second team behind West Indies, it may very well be them. But what are your thoughts on that final and your expectations moving forward after they won?
Looking at the final, when I actually saw the team on the morning, I think India got it wrong with not playing Ashwin, who's really good against Australia. Despite conditions, I keep hearing about conditions and horses for courses, but I think when a guy has the upper hand on you, regardless of if you play on the water or if you play in the desert, I think he still has the upper hand mentally. And I think India got it wrong in a sense with him. And in terms of Australia, I like the way Head played this morning. Very good. Always, that counter-attacking cricket is very good against good attacks. And I think India gave away the upper hand. So it's going to be an interesting encounter. I'm certainly going the way of Australia at the moment to win this test.
And I can't ask you about Aussie cricket without dragging you in somehow, even if kicking and screaming into the West Indies situation. The biggest conversation right now, the appointment of the new coaches. Strangely enough, you would think there's only been one appointment because we haven't heard a whole lot of reaction to Andrea Kohli's appointment as a red ball coach. I guess saw that coming, for some time. But Darren Sammy, much talked about. In fact, Darren Sammy is a player that you know well, and you would have had a very close association with him during your short test career. In fact, he would be your vice captain, you think?
Yeah. At the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but what are your thoughts on
against Floyd? Floyd was the captain at the time, and Sammy was vice captain.
I certainly remember Sammy playing I don't recall if he was the officially appointed vice captain, but he certainly was a senior man on the field in terms of, assisting Floyd and so on. I remember that quite well. So what are your thoughts about this whole thing? What do you make of it?
I saw a lot in the media, which is, you always not good to really read media associated stuff because sometimes it leads you astray. I think he's a very good people's person, and if you're looking back at his time as a skipper, he got the best of this squad. So I think for me is not just about Sammy, is about the people that you install and put to help him get the job done. And if you look at other countries, I don't want to really name them to go to suit, but you may pick a person and everyone might not agree on who's the right man for the job, but how would you know until you put some person in that role? And we've been experimenting for a long while. As you see, so far, I know we're not playing a really big nation, but if you look at the demeanor of the team at the moment, the body language and off the field in the dugout, they look to be a tighter unit, which we remembered when he won his T20 championship. And I know, sometimes people talk about qualifications, but we know how it goes sometimes when you can got all the qualifications in the world, but if you can't put it on the track, it serves nothing. So I'm sitting back waiting to see how he would go as a coach. I never knew him on the court side. Never had the chance to work with him on the court side, but as a captain and a people's person, he's been a really good man manager. And as a coach, you have to be a good man manager. So that's one characteristic that I think that would serve him well. And with the support staff, obviously helping him to get the job done would be very, very, very key.
You made a point there about they're not playing a strong nation. But if you go back to the T20 World Cup, it wasn't the strong nations that put West Indies out.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's what I'm saying there is that, I think it's about time in cricket that we, as fans included, fans have an influence and an impact on how players, on the mindset of players. That's my belief. I think it's about time we stop this rubbish about minnows and all that sort of thing. Rather than criticize, and I'm not accusing you of that. You were saying you recognize that although they're not playing a big name, you can still gauge certain things if you're looking at the cricket. And I think that we need to just show respect for everybody, and rather than looking at players and in a minute, rather than looking at that teams and putting them down because they're not popular, I think we actually should be looking to see what they're doing to get their players improving. You were saying, sorry.
Yeah, it's one or two of the players in that squad at the moment I played against in Australia, so I know the ability of them. So I know, especially I can't get the names off the head, but at the moment those guys got the quality. And as you said, we got, when we look at Afghanistan, where they've come from to where they are now, I don't think that we should be looking at, even if we play against USA tomorrow, everyone is trying to get the top. And I think cricket is a great leveler. I think it's a situation where we should be using these things as a bridge. And I think how we went about it the last two games, I think was really good, where we give people the opportunity to prove themselves. It's a good time to experiment before we actually get to the qualifiers. So, as I said, playing at home, they're at home. No one's always easy to play at home, regardless of what level, what team, because they always know the conditions better. But I think I got to give credit to West Indies at the moment, because even when if you look back in the past, we would play against certain teams and we would not even cross the 250 mark and we would be criticized. I think those performances show that, we're looking to build. I would like to see them get better, but that's a start and a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think that you need to be very realistic about the situation. Now, if you look at Afghanistan, for example, and you look at West Indies, and if you look at a 10-year period or 15-year period, which of the two, Afghanistan or West Indies, would you say have made greater strides forward in the last 50 years? Which one would you say?
You got to give it to Afghanistan. If you look at the way they played, especially when they play against other nations, they've been very strong. They've seen the improvement in some of the players. I remember some of the players when we saw them on in national scene for the first time. They, were thereabout, but then you saw them in the next 3 years, they were actually competing. They were not there to just get demolished. You could have seen them as a walkover in the past, but now you can put your money on them.
And they've got at least one world-class player.
Correct. And a very top player. He's not just a world-class player, he's a good thinker, very good bowler. And now, if you look at it, they're looking at him as a leader.
Yeah. So I think that we are really being very silly when we continually look down and talk down these teams when they're actually making progress at a faster rate than we are. We still believe that we are in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and we've still got Greenwich and Richards and Richardson in it. But we got to get over ourselves and recognize that there are countries out there that are developing at a faster and more meaningful rate than we are. And rather than, let's say, try to make them seem to be minnows or whatever, which is you want to call them, I think we can actually learn something from them. I actually think.
Yeah, if you look at the development of Bangladesh, if we use Bangladesh as an example, I remember going there in 2010, and they didn't even have much training facilities at that point in time. No, they didn't even have academies. And when I went back, by that time, in probably like a 2-year span, they actually had an academy. They had places for people to develop, and that's where West Indies at the moment. I don't understand how, you want to be a big nation, you want to compete against these top nations, and you don't even have an academy where, say, if the likes of a Shea Hope is failing, or the likes of Bravo, who's looking to get back in the test squad or the 50 over squad, wouldn't have a run academy where the West Indies Cricket Board or the Cricket West Indies, sorry, would be overseeing, and they will be the leading. So they have actually will be looking at that player's development to get back to the top. So they will got all the data, and it don't necessarily need to be in one island. I know I keep hearing, oh, it's all about the money, it's all about that, but if we got resources, regardless of what we say about money, we got the resources to make these things happen. And when you look at all the coaches we are, putting out there to get qualified, what are they gonna do if we don't have a test playing nation or what ODI nation? What would they think? Because if you look out on the international scene, how many of these coaches are employed at a national level? So is a big thing to ask. How I look at it, do we want to get better, or do we want to complain about finances? Do we want to look at people trying to compare a young kid who's never played on a wet wicket to the British, or Gary Sobers, or those names who we grew up seeing them playing really good? We got to be realistic. This is the modern era. Back in Test cricket, back in the day, no one would play reverse sweep. No one would try to advance on the wicket to a fast ball in Test cricket back in the day. If we look at life like that, we'll be stuck, and we will keep playing catch up. So I think now is the time that we're at this stage to look to put things in perspective and try to improve each player for who he is. Look at whatever everyone can bat the same. And if you look at Test cricket, everyone's got different technique. Everyone's got different mindset. You got to accept that player for who he is and try to develop that player to be the best he could be, to maintain himself at Test level, to do the best for the nation.
Well said, Omar. I don't know if there's anything more that can be said at this point in time. So thanks to you and to Kieran. Congratulations to Boscobel, and here's hoping that you guys go from strength to strength.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you've been watching Anything Cricket. Let's talk. You heard from Stephen Leslie, who talked about the staging of the finals last week, and who actually looked forward to the upcoming finals this coming weekend. Then you heard from Omar and his teammate Kieran, two members of the successful Boscobel club that defeated BDF to win the T20 Shield last weekend. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Join us again soon for another episode of Anything Cricket. Let's talk.